Afternoon broadcast legends. I'm here on a terrace at the Hilton Riyadh and Residences overlooking this amazing city. Listen, you bring up some very, very important points there, as that clip did, that so many people have so many questions about this fight. You mentioned I'm in the mix out here in the lead up just before the break, and I've been for lunch with Frank Warren today, who's utterly convinced that Tyson Fury can do it the second time around. I've spoken to Lennox Lewis, who believes that Tyson has to be a little bit more bullying, a bit more menacing, be a big heavyweight. Frank Warren's convinced. Other people, as we heard there, Duke McKenzie, believe that Usyk has Fury's number. But we're finding out this week that Fury's easing himself into the week. He was the grumpiest man in Riyadh on Monday at press day, but yesterday he was in a better mood. As, by the way, I don't know if you've seen it, we were with Oleksandr Usyk yesterday. It's there on our podcast and on clips on the Boxing YouTube channel. But they all came out of an aeroplane. They've created a new area of Boulevard City, and they all had dinner in the aeroplane. It's set up like a restaurant for 100 people, and we went up there afterwards. It's extraordinary what's going on here. They're pulling out all the stops, and it is fascinating at the moment. But these debates will go on all week.
Tyson Fury, often how he goes is his state of mind. You know, if he's sort of completely mad, he starts calling the other bloke a dosser and all this sort of thing. But it seems to me that he has great respect for Usyk. He admitted he won the fight, and so that might help him.
I think it does, and he'll never have a harder fight than this one, and never have a more important fight than this one. I've delved deep into the inside track in his camp. We've heard from him yesterday that he didn't speak to Paris Fury, his wife and the mother of his 7 children. He speaks to his children over the last 3 months. They've just been texting each other. He has been deep in camp, 5,000 calories and a strength and conditioning program for 6 weeks before he went into camp. They called it like a prison in the compound in Malta. He didn't do any social media, all these things you point out. He's not in the Batman suits anymore. He's not japing around. He's got this respect for Usyk now, and as Alexander Krasiuk, when he sat down with myself and Spencer Oliver yesterday, told us, he is more worried about a serious Tyson Fury than he was for the first fight. It was very close. People have a disagreement over whether Fury should have been stopped or not by referee Mark Nelson in the 9th round, but we are here now and we're going into this second encounter.
Having watched a fair few of Usyk's fights, the thing about him is that different people approach him in different ways. If you take it to him, he has an answer to that. You know, if you try and keep your distance, he'll have an answer to that. There's kind of fewer fighters, really, who's in fight management is better than him.
He's a pretty great fighter, isn't he?
So he always finds an answer, Gareth, which makes me think he's going to do that again.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. It's a very fine argument. He always does find the answer. And what he's got is grit, heart, determination, champion spirit. He will not be beaten. He was behind against Anthony Joshua in their second fight, and he came back. He was behind against Tyson Fury, in my view, after 7 rounds, 5 rounds to 2 down, but came back very powerfully in the fight. But it was very close towards the end. Fury's got recuperative powers. I spoke to Frank Warren about that earlier today, and he's better conditioned this time. He had the cut eye last time, and he's not making an excuse of this, but he had his wife in difficulties in fight week last time as well. Some of these things may have played on his mind, they may not. When I spoke to Lennox Lewis, Lennox said he's got to be more aggressive earlier and put it on him, be more menacing. But he said, but if he doesn't and he can't, then Usyk's got his number, and we shall find out on Saturday night about around, I think, 10 p.m. UK time. They make the ring walks.
Going back through his fight record, Usyk, Gareth, where have you seen him most troubled? Is there anything, even in his cruiserweight days, and is there anything that Tyson Fury could take from that?
He's had hard fights on the road. In the Cruiserweight World Series when he became the unified champion, but you've never really seen him get hurt. When he moved up to Cruiserweight, Derek Chisora gave him 4 or 5 difficult rounds, but he was kind of winning those rounds, even though Derek was kind of bullying him because he was a bigger man at the time. Usyk's about 220, 222 pounds now, a fully fledged heavyweight, a small heavyweight. Fury's got a 6-inch height advantage, probably a 2.5 stone weight advantage. I think Fury will be about just over 19 stone when they fight, and Usyk probably 16.5, something like that. He doesn't have difficulties. He had some when he was hit low. People will debate this as well, against Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois made him a little bit uncomfortable. Fury made him a little bit uncomfortable at times in that first fight between rounds 3 and 7, when he was going to the body, when he was throwing uppercuts to the body. So beyond that, we haven't seen him have difficulties. He's so clever. He's such a mathematician, a scientist, if you like. He's so balanced. His balance is exquisite at winning those 3-minute rounds. He's just very, very clever at it. 350 amateur fights. He juggles, remember. He does Cossack dancing. He does this wild clubbing dancing with his legs and arms going everywhere. Have you seen him do the trick with 6 coins on his arms? When he throws them up and he catches all 3 with both hands. He is the consummate athlete, and it's very interesting and intriguing that you point to that, Paul, because those are his greatest qualities, apart from the fact he's carrying a nation on his back as well. And it means so much to him to represent 37 million people in Ukraine who are going through an extraordinary time at the moment with the Russian invasion.
And there's been all this talk about him dropping back down to cruiserweight again, potentially after this fight. Is there a particular fight he wants at that weight, Gareth?
Well, it was Alex Krasiuk who brought that up with myself and Spencer when we had the sit-down with him either yesterday or the day before. I can't remember even what day it is right now. We're just deep into fight week. But I don't see it. I don't see him boiling down 20 pounds to fight Jai Opetaia, who's the guy at cruiserweight. I think it's more likely that Opetaia will come up and maybe they meet at heavyweight, because Opetaia is kind of David Haye size. But if he does want to do it, Usyk's got the mentality to do it. But we always remember people that have come up in weight and gone down a big amount of weight, and they've never really been the same again. Roy Jones Jr. being the consummate example of that. But I just think there's still so many challenges out there for him if he defeats Tyson Fury on Saturday night. I think there's the rematch with Daniel Dubois, who's now flying high. There's Moses Itauma, who's going to be ready to strike in a year's time. There's Martin Bakole. There's Joseph Parker, if Joseph Parker defeats Daniel Dubois out here on that amazing card on February the 22nd. There's loads of challenges for him. But he's 37 in January. He's made a truckload of money in the last couple of years. If he beats Fury on Saturday night, for me, he enters the pantheon of greats. He really does belong in a list of the top 10 of all time. So he hasn't really got that much more to achieve.
Gareth, good to talk to you as always. We'll catch up with you later in the week.
That it's sunset and he doesn't need his sunglasses anymore.
Yeah, I think he's looking cool. Cheers, Gareth. Take care.
Cheers, gents. Always a pleasure.
Gareth A Davies, part of our top team, going to bring you the big fight this weekend. Cracking undercard as well. I'll make Johnny Fisher's on the card.
This is what I get interested in. You love boxing. I like boxing. But it needs to be a big fight to get me going. This one's getting me going.
Yeah, it is a fascinating fight. And it's what Gareth was right. When they was talk about going back to cruiserweight, I thought, well, why? There's so much out there if he wants to keep fighting, as Gareth says, and what's he got left to prove? There are so many.
He's a special fighter, though.
Yeah. I think he is a great watch. Just love watching like the old sort of narrative arc of one of his fights and the way he always finds a way to beat his opponent. He is some boxer. But who knows, Tyson Fury on his night is some boxer as well. So that's why it's so intriguing. We're bringing it to you live on talkSPORT this weekend, and we'll continue building up throughout the week.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.